Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our August 15th meeting of the Webster Board of Education. Would you please stand and join us in reciting our Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm unaware of any changes to the agenda tonight. Does anyone have any additions or corrections to the agenda? Then may I have a motion to accept the agenda, please? Second? Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the agenda stays. I see no one in the audience, so we won't have any visitor speaking time. So we will move on. Besides setting the course or direction for the school district, one of the most important jobs of the Board of Education is the hiring and subsequently the evaluation of the superintendent. This past month, the Board of Education met with Mr. Gamina and reviewed his performance for the last school year. We used a number of agreed-upon standards on which our evaluation was based. Those standards included, does the superintendent lead the district by promoting the success of all students? Does the superintendent articulate a vision of learning and quality instruction? Does the superintendent develop a positive school climate and demonstrate best practices in instructional programs and staff development? Does the superintendent demonstrate the knowledge, skills, and ability to effectively manage operations and promote a safe and effective environment for students and staff? Does the superintendent ensure a fiscal health of the district and implement sound fiscal policies and practices? Does the superintendent demonstrate effective communication with students, parents, staff, community, and effectively engage and respond to diverse interests and needs? Does the superintendent lead and manage the district consistent with board policies and demonstrate the skills to work effectively with the Board of Education? And does the superintendent act with integrity, fairness, and in an ethical manner? We have determined that Mr. Gamina has worked hand in hand with the Board of Education to set the vision, the goals, and the objectives of the district. The board believes Mr. Gamina is an instructional leader. The board believes Mr. Gamina is an effective communicator. The board believes that Mr. Gamina has used the financial and human resources of the district while still being mindful of all the competing demands of the constituencies and interest groups in the district, all the while doing what is best for students. The Board of Education has concluded that Mr. Gamina is a highly effective superintendent. And to this end, the Board of Education and the superintendent have mutually agreed to amend the present employment agreement. We are extending this agreement with Mr. Gamina to June 30th of 2021. Mr. Gamina has agreed to change to a high deductible health care plan, and Mr. Gamina is receiving a 3.12 increase in net compensation, which is actually salary plus the health savings plan minus the health savings from the shift to high deductible. And all the other items of the contract are basically unchanged. And before I ask for a motion to ratify this amendment to the employment agreement, fellow board members, do you have any comments? Okay.
Appreciate it. Yes, I agree with that.
All right, then we have a motion, please, to adopt the amended employment agreement with the superintendent of the schools. Thank you. A second?
I'll second. Go ahead, Tammy.
All right. Second, Tammy. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations, Carm.
Thank you.
All right. One of our main businesses tonight, board, is to finalize the tax rates for the 2017-28 school year. Board members, you've had an opportunity to look at this, but Brian, would you please go through all the details for us one more time?
Thank you, Mike. Love to. So 17-18 tax warrant, I'm just going to take you through. There's three parts that make up our tax rates that we're approving tonight. I want to take you through each one of them. Tax levy, which we can control. Our equalization rates, which are set by the New York State Office of Real Property Tax Service. And our assessed value on the district, which comes from all the four towns, the assessors for those towns. So I'll take you through all three parts to see how we get to the rates. So first one, this change happened last year, but those new board members, I think it's pertinent to discuss. when we did our budget, we set our levy at $100,828,000. But what we have to do every year now going forward because of the property tax cap is reduce that levy amount by what they call the Section 520 re-levy amounts, taxes that have kind of carried over to the following year that we collect. So we reduce it by that amount. So for the 17-18 year, we have just over $53,000 in re-levies. So our actual tax levy gets reduced by that amount. Because then you add those re-levies that we get, and it makes us whole to our full tax levy that we're going with. That's a nuanced change that happened last year. Years past, we would just get it on top of, but we got some guidance saying, no, you can't do that anymore. So that's part one, or why our tax levy you're approving tonight is different from what was proposed when we did our budget.
These levies, is that what you call them? Is it like money that wasn't paid in the other
Correct.
previous calendar year?
Maybe an ownership change, something they got left off the rolls,
Okay.
you know, minor clerical mistake, something like that could happen. Our assessments is the large part, so you can see I have comparison between 16-17, 17-18 by year. So overall, as a district, we're up 1.48% in valuation. I believe I estimated 1.53, so fairly close. You can see the town of Penfield had a substantial increase. Webster just at 1%. Ontario and Walworth, smaller parts of the district, 0.5% and 1.2%. So the total assessed valuation in each 4 towns went up by a combined 1.48%. And then our equalization rates. The third part, you can see in 16-17, 3 out of the 4 towns were assessed at 100%. Webster was at 88%. For 17-18, you see that change that has an impact. Webster has gone down another 1.5% on the equalization rate, which shifts more costs to the town of Webster taxpayers. But like I said, that's controlled by New York State. They set that. So what does that do overall for our final rates? You see the town of Penfield, taxpayers in the district will have a reduction, just about 0.75%. Webster will be up 1%, which really makes sense because the equalization rate went up 1.5%, but they had growth of 1%, so the growth can't more than compensate for the equalization rate change. And then Ontario, Walworth, and our overall true tax value all going down for 17-18 by just about overall 0.75% district-wide on the true tax rate. What would that do on the average house? So you can see 3 of the towns are saving anywhere from $28 to about $33 a year, where Webster, basically due to the equalization rate change, is going to about $44 on the average home increase moving forward for 17-18.
Where the equalization rate gets so low that the state requires a town to do a reevaluation?
You know, not that I'm aware of. I've seen some fairly low equalization rates,
Okay.
usually around lake properties.
Mm-hmm.
You know, smaller towns that perhaps like a Finger Lakes or something like
Right.
that will have fairly low equalization rates. But I don't believe there's anything that the state will require you to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions on those rates? And then I also put it together in a memo for everybody to outline it. I also included in there the actual warrant to see how it's calculated. And then I also gave you about a 20-year history of our tax rates by town for your reference as well.
No further questions? Then we will ask for a motion to accept the proposed tax rates for the 2017-2018 school year. Second, please.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Brian. Each year, the Board of Education is required to review and approve the Code of Conduct. The purpose of this document is to provide a framework by which the district can maintain a safe and orderly school environment conducive to learning and respectful to all people and property. Board members, you've had a chance to review this document. Hopefully, you've noticed that this document was revised to reflect the enhancement of our technology initiative. So, Shelley and Joe, would you like to add any details?
Well, as you indicated, that every year it is our responsibility as a school district to review the code of conduct and then to make any recommendations to the Board of Education. And the most significant changes that we have and that we need to respond to is really to support our technology initiatives. The most significant aspect, I think it really is about the institution that we are, and it is about teaching and learning. And how can we teach our students and our staff, all staff within our district, our parents and our community, how they can support students and also learn themselves just about the expectations when it comes to using technology and how wonderful of an opportunity it is for us to be able to use it to expand learning and to transform our learning for students. But there are also significant responsibilities that go along with that. Joe has been, along with Brian Zimmer, facilitating two committees that they worked all year long, focusing on the broader community of the school district and then focusing on our digital citizenship. And the digital citizenship aspect, it's how do we incorporate the learning into care? How do we incorporate the expectations in a broader sense so that there's really specific teaching that's going to take place for this upcoming school year? So, Joe, you want to touch base a little more or expand on that?
Yep. Good evening. We worked throughout the year with our technology committee and our digital citizenship committee, as well as working with some of our students. Throughout this first year of our Transforming Learning Through Technology initiative, to talk about code and conduct of students as well as use. If you look at our code of conduct overall as a document, it really is about modeling and teaching. And the parts that we really needed to highlight were how do we incorporate that into the technology world, because the technology world is so ubiquitous in our life. And so the changes that we made to the document were to bring all of the parties on board with teaching and modeling, parents, students, staff, and being able to really focus in on what does that mean in our ever-changing world of technology, including social media, internet use, phones, computers, all of those things that are changing, but that's what we really want to be able to focus on is the education piece. How do we educate everyone and all of our stakeholders to be on board working for the same goal? And that's really to teach our students how to work in this world of technology and be responsible citizens.
Joe, did you have parent members on these committees?
Yes, yep. We have parent members, standing parent members on our technology committee. They are instrumental in the work that we do, and they bring wonderful ideas and certainly different experience outside of education to the table. So,
good.
Other questions from the board on the code of conduct? Seeing none, I'll ask for a motion to approve the code of conduct.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Second?
Second?
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
thank you.
Early in July, the governor signed legislation allowing for municipalities to opt into an assessment reduction program for homeowners that have been impacted by the flooding in and around Lake Ontario. It is the recommendation of our business office that we not adopt this program. Brian, would you like to explain the reasoning for this recommendation?
Sure. And I just want to point out that the board does not need to take action on this. This is informational, even though on the agenda it says for action. A couple weeks ago, we were forwarded the actual legislation for this act that said, thanks to our local assessor's office, that said municipalities have until August 24th to decide to opt in or opt out. So it didn't give us a lot of time to look at what the legislation said. But with conferring with all the Lake Ontario-based school districts, there really just isn't enough information that the state has put out about this. How would districts get reimbursed? In essence, everybody would be filing a small claims adjustment against the district. And we get those every single year, and we, whatever the ruling is, quite often, we'll have to reimburse taxpayers. Well, it's set up the same exact way. But without specifying, does the district get made whole? So if we decided to opt into this, will we see those funds that we know we would lose come back to us? Because obviously this was passed after our budget cycle, after everything's been closed up. So in consultation with our school attorney and communication with the other districts, every other district's just going to let the deadline pass and not take any action on it, because there's just not enough solid information at this time to hurry up and make a decision going forward. So that is pretty much the basis of my recommendation. We just don't know enough. The state has not issued guidelines on how this program would actually work.
Questions from the board? Thank you for that information. Well, there is legislation exempting certain solar and/or wind energy systems from property taxes for a period of 15 years. It's the recommendation of our business office, as well as legal counsel, that the exemption made available by this tax law not be applicable within the boundaries of the Webster School District. Brian, would you like to add any additional information?
Sure. So under real property tax law, solar and wind, but specifically that is more common now is solar. You see it popping up and around a lot of the towns. What the district can do is, opt out of pretty much the real property assessment. So then it would force any company that was looking to do a municipal solar project to the negotiations table with the district to enter into a pilot agreement. It gives us additional leverage by opting out rather than it just happening to us. So this gives the district greater flexibility in determining the financial impact it could have on us. So that's why it's a main reason for the recommendation to opt out of real property tax law 487.
Questions?
So it only pertains to businesses? It doesn't pertain to individual
Does not.
homes? Okay. So if a person enhanced their property, then it would just go on to their assessment, and they would
Right.
be.
However, that would be assessed. That's how that is handled. This is for those large-scale municipal solar or wind farm type items.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Then may we have a motion indicating that tax law 487 shall not be applicable in the Webster Central School District?
So moved.
Second, please.
Second?
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, board members, we have one more thing on our agenda tonight. We do have a number of extracurricular accounts related to sports that are presently on our books. The business office is recommending that we close these accounts and transfer the balances to the Webster Athletic Booster Organization. The reason being that these set accounts are basically fundraisers, and they really were not intended for that use. Brian, any other?
Right. The whole point of extracurricular clubs is to get student involvement in student politics, having a president, having a vice president, a secretary, a treasurer, learning Robert's Rules of Orders, and taking minutes and making collective decisions like student government, like clubs are run. But these accounts aren't run like that. They're one of the only ways a district could fundraise is through an extra class account. So a lot of the times they were set up primarily for fundraising purposes. So with some of the transition that's going on with our Webster Athletic Booster Organization in the concession stand coming away, there were several members of the booster organization that still want to be part of helping student-run sports. So we came up with this suggestion that it would be great if they took over these accounts for fundraising purposes. Does several things. One is the accounts, which are, as you've read many of our extracurricular audits, quite often showing up there. And the other shock is a lot of people are very surprised to find out those clubs aren't tax exempt. Even though they're affiliated with the school district, they're not tax exempt. So quite everything they do, they have to pay sales tax on, or if they sell tickets, they charge sales tax. So now they're moving over to Weibo, which is a 501c3, which is tax exempt. So the kids' money will go a little farther, any fundraising they do. And secondly, they're not required to do the onerous paperwork that we put on them as part of the comptroller. So it really is, helping out everybody in this situation, I think, to everybody's advantage by closing these accounts as extracurriculars and moving them over to the Athletic Boosters organization.
Questions? All right, may we have a motion, please, to close these extracurricular accounts and move the balances to Weibo?
So moved.
And second by Bill. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, with that being said, may we have a motion to adjourn this business meeting and move into our technology workshop? Second?
In a second.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Good night, everyone.